Soldiers, welcome to Iron Commander. This is where the battlefield comes to life. Here we break down real military history, legendary battles. Hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice strengthens this army. Enlist by subscribing to the channel.
The air smelled like wet grass. A Soviet border guard stood near Brest, hands shoved in his pockets, watching the horizon turn pale. June 22nd, 1941, 13 a.m. The sky was clear, almost too clear. He remembers the silence. Not the kind that feels safe, the kind that presses against your chest, like the earth itself was holding its breath. Then, a sound, low, distant, growing. Not thunder, heavier. He turned, squinted, and saw the horizon ripple. 3 million men, 3,000 tanks, 7,000 artillery pieces, all aimed east. At 3 to 15 a.m., the world cracked open. But nobody in Moscow knew yet. Let me take you back 6 months. December 1940, Berlin. Adolf Hitler sat in the Reich Chancellery, staring at maps. He'd conquered France, humiliated Britain, controlled most of Europe. But none of it was enough. He wanted the East, the Soviet Union, the land, the oil, the wheat, and more than anything, he wanted to destroy what he called Judeo-Bolshevism. He drafted the plan himself, codename Operation Barbarossa, named after a medieval emperor who drowned crossing a river. The irony wouldn't be lost on history. Hitler's generals warned him, "Mein Führer, we can't fight a two-front war, not Russia, not in winter." He waved them off. The Soviet Union, he said, is a house of cards. Kick in the door, and the whole structure collapses. He believed it, completely. Meanwhile, 1,800 kilometers east, Joseph Stalin sat in the Kremlin. Reports piled on his desk, German divisions massing, reconnaissance flights, defectors screaming warnings. Richard Sorge, a Soviet spy in Tokyo, sent urgent cables, attack imminent, June 22nd. Stalin read them and did nothing. He didn't believe it, or maybe he didn't want to. He'd signed a non-aggression pact with Hitler in 1939. They divided Poland together, shared a border, traded oil and grain. He thought he had time. On June 21st, a German deserter swam across the Bug River, soaking wet, gasping. He told Soviet officers, "The attack starts at dawn." The message reached Moscow. Stalin's response? Do not respond to provocations. He went to bed. But 190 kilometers away, something else was waking up. June 22nd, 3 to 15 a.m. The first shells screamed over the Bug River, then 10,000 more. The ground didn't just shake, it convulsed. Trees snapped, buildings folded. The air turned to fire and dust. Soviet soldiers stumbled from barracks, half-dressed, eyes wide. Some thought it was a drill, others ran, most just stood there, frozen. One soldier, Private Nikolai Sirotinin, would later write in a diary fragment found near Smolensk, "I didn't hear the explosion. I felt it inside my ribs, like my heart had been punched." He survived that morning. Not the week. The Luftwaffe struck first. 2,000 aircraft. No warning. Soviet airfields. Rows of planes parked wing to wing, erupted in flames. By noon, the Red Air Force lost 1,200 aircraft. Most never left the ground. The Soviet military was decapitated before it could even stand. Field Marshal Fedor von Bock commanded Army Group Center, the largest attacking force. His target, Minsk, then Smolensk, then Moscow. He moved fast. Panzer divisions sliced through Soviet lines like wire cutters through string. Soviet units fought, bravely, desperately, but they had no orders, no coordination, no leadership. Stalin had purged 35,000 officers in the late 1930s, shot them, imprisoned them. The Red Army was gutted before the war even started. Now it was paying the price. By June 24th, just 2 days into the invasion, German forces surrounded 300,000 Soviet troops near Minsk. They didn't surrender easily. A tank commander named Dmitry Lavrenenko refused to abandon his position. Outnumbered, outgunned, he radioed, "Tell my family I held the line." He destroyed 6 German tanks before his own burned. He died at 27. But nobody in Moscow knew yet. In Brest, a Belarusian woman named Katya Ivanova was hanging laundry when the shelling started. She grabbed her daughter, 4 years old, and ran toward the forest. They didn't make it. A Stuka dive bomber screamed overhead. The sound alone was designed to break you, high-pitched, demonic. She threw herself over her daughter. The bomb hit 30 meters away. When the dust cleared, she was deaf in one ear. Her daughter was screaming, but Katya couldn't hear her. She just held on. By the end of June, 2 million Soviet soldiers were dead, wounded, or captured. The Wehrmacht advanced 600 kilometers in 3 weeks. It was the fastest military collapse in modern history. And still, Moscow stayed silent. But here's what nobody expected. The house of cards didn't fall. It bent, it bled, but it didn't break. Soviet soldiers, untrained, undersupplied, abandoned, kept fighting. Not because of orders, because it was their land. Near Smolensk, a garrison of 3,500 men held a fortress for 2 months against an entire German corps. No reinforcements, no resupply. When the Germans finally broke through, they found 200 survivors. One of them had carved into a wall. "We died, but we do not surrender." The Germans took pictures, sent them home. They couldn't understand it. Neither could Hitler. Let me tell you what the first week cost. 400,000 Soviet soldiers dead. Another 600,000 captured. Entire divisions gone, just erased from existence. The roads east filled with refugees, millions. Old men, mothers, children, carrying what they could, leaving everything else. A school teacher from Minsk named Vera Kosova kept a diary. One entry, dated June 28th, reads, "We walked for 3 days. My shoes fell apart, my feet bled. A little boy asked his mother if they were going to die. She didn't answer. I think that was her answer." Vera survived the war. The boy didn't. And in Moscow, finally, Stalin spoke. July 3rd, 11 days after the invasion. He addressed the Soviet people over the radio. His voice was hoarse, shaken. He called them brothers and sisters. Not comrades, not citizens. Brothers and sisters. Because he knew the Soviet Union was bleeding, and only the people could save it. "The enemy is cruel and implacable," he said. "Our goal is their complete destruction." It wasn't a speech. It was a funeral and a resurrection. But the dying didn't stop. By December 1941, the Germans were 30 kilometers from Moscow. You could see the Kremlin spires from German positions. Soviet losses by year's end: 4.5 million soldiers. 4.5 million. It's a number so large it stops meaning anything. Unless you think about the letters, the mothers, the villages that lost every man. A nurse named Zinaida Belova worked in a field hospital near Moscow. She wrote, "We ran out of bandages. We ran out of morphine. We tore up bed sheets. We held their hands. We whispered lies. You'll be fine, because sometimes a lie is the last kindness you can give." She survived. But she never smiled again in photographs. The invasion didn't end in 1941. It kept going for 4 more years. Across forests, across snow, across cities reduced to ash. 27 million Soviet citizens died before it was over. 27 million. But on June 22, 1941, none of that had happened yet. On that morning, a border guard smelled wet grass. A mother hung laundry. A soldier slept in a barracks. And the world changed. Hitler believed the Soviet Union would collapse in weeks. He was wrong. The Soviets didn't collapse. They endured. And eventually, they pushed back, all the way to Berlin. But the cost is still carved into the land. In Belarus, there's a village called Kaitan. The Germans burned it in 1943. All 149 residents, women, children, everyone. Today, there's a memorial, a bronze statue of a man holding a dead child. Beneath it, an inscription. We demand that this never be forgotten. I think about that border guard sometimes. The one who heard the silence before the storm. Did he survive? I don't know. But I know what he witnessed. The moment history split open. The moment the 20th century showed its teeth. and the moment millions of ordinary people were forced to choose, run, surrender, or fight, most chose to fight. Not because they loved Stalin, not because of ideology. Because when fire comes to your door, you don't ask why. You just hold the line. June 22nd, 1941. The brightest dawn. The darkest beginning.